Hand the conference over to Mr. Krupal Maniar from ICICI Securities. Thank you, and over to you, sir.
Thank you, Malika. Good morning and a warm welcome to everyone. On behalf of ICICI Securities, we welcome you to the earnings call of Ambuja Cements Limited. On the call, we have with us Mr. Neeraj Akhoury, CEO India Lafarge Holcim and Managing Director and CEO Ambuja Cements, and Ms. Rajni Keshri, CFO Lafarge Holcim India and CFO Ambuja Cements Limited. At this point of time, I will hand over the floor to management of the company for their opening remarks, which will be followed by interactive Q&A. Thank you, and over to you, sir.
Thank you, Krupal. Good morning, everybody. My name is Neeraj Akhoury, and today I'm here to represent Ambuja Cement and as well as CEO of India of Lafarge Holcim India. I may also be able to address some of those questions in Lafarge Holcim India work. So welcome to Ambuja Cement annual earnings call. We hope that you and your family are safe and healthy, and happy New Year once more. In the next 20 minutes of our conversation, we'll take you through the key highlights and achievements of the company for the quarter 4 as well as for full year 2020. We will share details of financial performance and then we'll open up the floor for a Q&A session. With me today is Rajni Keshri. Rajni is our CFO, again for CFO for Ambuja Cement, but also CFO India for Lafarge Holcim, and both of us together will take you through the document that has been shared with you already. As you're aware, as far as the market is concerned, the demand dropped in the first quarter towards the middle of March, and then of course followed it through the second quarter of 2020 as the construction and infrastructure development activities came to a halt in 2020 due to COVID-19 lockdown. It resulted in disruptions including supply of labor as well as supply chain. With the well-planned gradual unlocking across the country, we believe that the demand for cement witnessed a sharp revival. In the housing sector, rural housing has outperformed urban, and rural India continues to outperform, supported by government spends as well as better agriculture profitability. To recap on Ambuja's overview, our vision is to be the most sustainable and competitive company in our industry. We are backed by a strong parentage of Lafarge Holcim Group Global, which provides us access to global expertise in areas of sustainability, digital, and research and development. We operate with a diverse portfolio of high-performance products for strengths of the core as well as of the Deca. With our strong national presence through strategically located plants, which will be further supplemented by our expansion in Rajasthan coming up during quarter 2, June of 2020 to 21, as well as position to build on India's growth. On the ESG front, I'm happy to share and very proud to share that Ambuja has scored 5th place globally in the DJSI Dow Jones Sustainability Index worldwide in construction material category. We remain committed to our sustainability goal. On the beginning of the financials, I take you to the slide number 12 of the quarter performance. Our sales volume has grown by about 7% for the quarter. We have also registered the highest ever cement production during this quarter. Supported by good prices, the top line has grown by roughly about 14%. On slide number 13, if you look at the full year performance, our sharp focus on cost across manufacturing and logistics resulted in EBITDA growth of 23%, despite the challenges on volumes that we faced in quarter 2 of the year. and based on all these levers, the EBIT grew by about 32% for the year. I now hand over to Rajani Keshri, our CFO, to take you on the further information. Go ahead, Rajani.
Thank you very much, Neeraj. Good morning to everyone, and I am pleased to take you through our results. As Neeraj already mentioned, Ambuja has delivered a robust performance for the quarter and for the full year 2020. It is noteworthy that our performance has been consistent throughout the year despite the challenges that have been presented by COVID. Moving on to slide 16, where you will find a bit more detailed analysis of the performance. You can see that the realizations have grown by 6% year-on-year for the quarter and 5% for the full year. This is supported by a combination of market price increase, higher share of our trade sales, and growth in special and premium products. With focus on the premium products, their sales have increased by 16% during the year, and this has been led by Ambuja Plus, Ambuja Kavach, and Composite. It is important to note that Kavach has been launched with a fixed price model, and we are very pleased with the results that have been delivered so far. On the volume front, the arrangement with ACC on the master supply agreement has yielded good results for both the companies. While for Ambuja, it has helped in capacity utilization and spreading of our costs, for ACC, it has provided the much-needed volumes in the sold-out market. During the year, we accelerated our cost and efficiency improvement programs. Under our flagship ICAN program, we increased digitization and adoption levels of state-of-art applications and tools in manufacturing and logistics. We have adopted tools for plants of tomorrow from our group, which have proved helpful in driving efficiencies. EBITDA per ton grew by 30% for the quarter and 31% for the full year. This is supported by all-around improvement in cost efficiency programs, which have flown into the P&L in 2020. Moving on to slide 13, a bit more color on detailed costs. Power and fuel cost per ton has declined 3% for the quarter and 8% for the full year. There has been support coming here from renegotiation of contracts and also efficiency gains in our plants. Freight and forwarding has also declined 4% for the quarter and 2% for the full year. We have clocked good efficiencies. This has been through increase in direct dispatches, reduction in lead distance, and also acceleration of supplies under MSA. This has helped us to mitigate the diesel price increase, which was approximately 11% last year. Raw material costs per ton have also reduced 3% for the quarter and 7% for the full year, and this has been due to lower input costs managed by the excellent work done by our inbound materials team on sourcing low-cost material and also changing the mix to lower-cost raw materials. On slide 19, the other expenses have also shown an increasing trend in line with the cost optimization targets that we had for this year, which continued into the full year, and the total cost per ton has reduced for 3% for the full year. Cash flow has been a highlight for us, and we'll talk about it later when Neeraj talks about the priorities. I would now like to hand over to Neeraj to talk about the external environment and our response to that.
Thank you, Rajni. Ambuja continues to have a very strong belief in the country and our potential to grow. I think both the Lafarge Holcim as well as Ambuja and ACC, we are long-term players in this country. ACC with about 100 years and Ambuja with about 40-odd years now. So we do believe and we are committed that on this country and will continue to grow. We find that even in 2020 and going forward, the mega trends which will impact our industry are all strongly positive. So when we talk about our population growth or our urbanization growth or income and affordability growth, as well as government focus, all this bears very well with the demand evolution in the coming days. For 2020, because due to the quarter 2 corona impact, we had a degrowth, but we believe 2021 will see a strong rebound of demand. Going to slide number 22, if I look at the cement sector, last year we were at about 300 odd million tons of demand. and this year we expect the demand to be back at about 350 million tons. Having said that, the per capita consumption is still low, and this is something that gives us an enormous opportunity to grow this industry in terms of the capacity. We continue to be at about 200 to 250 kgs per capita in the country versus a world average of 500 to 550. So we do believe that our industry will continue to grow in the coming decades. On slide number 23, some of the steps taken by Government of India are mostly favorable for our industry. When I see this, especially in affordable housing segment, which will continue to be a key growth lever. In addition to that, government focus on infrastructure and urban housing will also supplement the demand growth. So overall, we believe all the demand, all the levers are in favor of signaling a strong demand growth in the coming years, especially in 2021. In terms of our response, slide number 24, we'll continue to focus on the retail segment with increased penetration in the new markets. With commercial production starting at Marwa Mundwa in middle of this year, we are confident of gaining market share through additional volumes. New green and high performance premium products with low clinker factor will continue to be our priority. We plan to increase the share of green power in our power mix from currently about 5% to around 38% by calendar year 2022. And in addition, we are ramping up our Gare Palma coal block in the current year to substitute the high cost of fuel. On slide number 26, and in terms of our near-term strategic priorities, which is very focused, razor-sharp focused on health, cost, and cash. This has been our priority in 2020 and will continue in 2021 as well. Focus on health of our employees and communities is the main area of focus. Last year we have touched lives of roughly about 34 lakh people by our efforts around COVID. On cost, the focus on cost has helped us in margin expansion by about 480 basis points. And I believe Ambuja continues with his priority on cash, and the cash flow for operation is at about 2,600 odd crores. On slide number 27 is our long-term strategic priorities. We believe that we will be able to maintain, if not improve, our market share by the Marwa Mundwa capacity addition. We are also evaluating further expansion opportunities in the country, both at our current sites through new lines as well as through other ways. The other area where we are going to work very strongly this year is and the coming years on the improvement of clinker factor, which will increase our cement capacity. Our distribution reach, ladies and gentlemen, continues to expand with the addition of new dealers, and this will be something that will continue to do even today. And more importantly, we are now strongly using digital means to more and more engage with our customers as well as with our consumers across markets. The other area to work on for us will be on special products, and we will drive a superior value proposition by leveraging our group R&D capacity. We have already launched Kavach water repellent cement across markets, and very happy to say that Kavach recorded significant growth in 2020, and we will further push it in the coming years. Our R&D teams are working also on pipeline of new products that we will hope to test market as well as launch in the market, commercial launch in the coming months. We are working on what we call the cost optimization under our flagship ICAN program. We believe ICAN has delivered in 2020. There are more plans in 2021 and beyond to drive our cost efficiency agenda. The program covers both plants as well as logistics part of our performance, and digital with our new tools through digital. We are well prepared, and it provides a very good opportunity for us to accelerate the savings program. Having said that, we are also equally concerned and equally active to achieve our sustainability goals. We remain committed on this part of our performance as a full team. We are tracking our sustainability goals with CO2 per ton of cement now at 531 kg. 8.2 million tons of waste was reused in last year. Water savings were already about 8 times water positive, and through our CSR programs, we have been touching several lives. Very proud to inform that in 2020, through our very strong efforts on health and safety, our performance has significantly improved, and we have now zero fatality across our operations, both in ACC as well as Ambuja. This was from our side to give you a glimpse of what has been for us the year called 2020, a year full of uncertainty but also of opportunities. And I believe Team Ambuja has been able to take advantage of the opportunities and deliver a performance which are better than our expectation. With this, I would now open floor for questions from all of you. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you very much. We will now begin the question and answer session. Anyone who wishes to ask a question may press star and 1 on the touchtone telephone. If you wish to remove yourself from the question queue, you may press star and 2. Participants are requested to use handsets while asking a question. Ladies and gentlemen, we will wait for a moment while the question queue assembles. The first question is from the line of Vivek Maheshwari from Jefferies. Please go ahead.
Hi, am I audible?
Yes, sir. You may go ahead.
Hi. Good morning, team. A couple of questions. First is, on the capacity expansions. So, the Marwar Mundwa plant is coming on stream soon. What are the plans beyond that? If you can talk about it.
Hi, Vivek. Good morning. At this moment, Vivek, I will not like to really reveal the details of our capacity expansion plan. What is important that after Marwar Mundwa, we do have plans. Evaluations are undergoing in all regions wherever we have a significant base for raw materials to expand at those locations. What we are now, as a first step, what we are doing is to evaluate our strategy for Bhatapara, where we have currently a unit, and to use Bhatapara raw material base to expand our presence in the east part of India. As well as we are looking at Maratha, which is located in Maharashtra, to also look at expanding our base in the west part of India.
I see. And a follow-up to that, when you announce a special dividend of 17 rupees in 2020, could you just elaborate on, your decision to, let's say, it's a good decision, but I just wanted to know, when you thought about that, how did you, decide on that instead of capex? So how did you, arrive at a decision to pay out instead of, using this to expand capacity? So, what was the thought process? Just curious.
Yeah. Good morning, Vivek. Rajni here. We are still sitting on about 3,000 crores of cash. We are generating over 2,500 every year. So, we will have enough money to fund the capex that we undertake.
I see. Got it.
Thank you.
And, just another question. So on the cost saving side, ACC, let's say, has articulated, and I think Project Parvat started a bit early over there. So, there was more, let's say, tangible numbers given in terms of the cost saving that ACC is trying to achieve. Can you just talk about, so you have spoken about ICAN project, but can you just talk about, if you can quantify the kind of savings that you are looking from the self-help measures?
So, Vivek, for both ACC and Ambuja, you're right that Parvat started a little bit before, and ACC has been a bit more forthright in saying that the savings per ton that would clock for 2020 would be around 200 rupees. And I think Ambuja is also along the same lines. It is important to note that the savings are focused on the efficiency part. Some of the savings have got reversed with the movement that we saw in raw materials towards the end of the year. But both of us have similar targets and are tracking in line with them.
Sure. And just a quick follow-up, Rajni. 200 rupees of that, how much we have seen in 2020, and how much of this will come in 2021?
200 from efficiencies is already come into the P&L in 2020. Some of it negated by input cost prices. The rest of it will start to come in 2022 and 23 as the various capex projects come on board, because a lot of savings will come through the waste heat recovery and solar as well. And the projects that Neeraj has spoken about, there is some efficiency capex involved, and that's going on now. We couldn't execute all of it due to COVID, so that's ongoing in 2021.
Got it. Thank you, and wish you all the very best.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, please limit your questions to 2 per participant. Should you have a follow-up question, would request you to rejoin the queue. The next question is from the line of Gunjan Prithyani from JP Morgan. Please go ahead.
Yeah, hi. Thanks for doing the call and giving me the opportunity. I had 2 questions. Firstly, just from the earlier question, sorry I missed that bit. How much of the savings on ICAN have been realized in CY20?
200 in the efficiencies.
400 rupees per...
No. I wish it was 400.
No, I was slightly confused. What did the 400 rupee mean?
A lot more than 200.
Okay, got it. Okay, so the 2 questions. Firstly, on the MSA side, can you talk about the savings that have been realized so far? I mean, we've already seen the contract renewal, which came in yesterday. So it will be great if we get some update on what was the realization in the past, in the last 2 years, or maybe this year. And what does that renewal mean? I mean, is it the continuity of the savings of 3 to 5%, which we spoke about earlier, or is there scale up to that target?
So, Gunjan, thank you for asking this question. Master supply agreement was pushed in a very strong way in 2020. I think the increase in the volumes that were shared between both the companies was significantly higher than what we saw in the other years. Between both companies, we see a figure of roughly about 250 odd crores, Gunjan. Yeah, that is a resultant of direct EBITDA addition because of our MSA. Yeah, Ambuja benefits higher than 5% of PBT, and ACC benefits is close to 5% of PBT. Yeah, that is on MSA.
Okay, and in the renewal, the target should be pretty much similar. We stand with that 5% will continue, or do you see that this number can be higher because we've clearly seen decent progress in CY20 on that?
Too early to say that, Gunjan. Of course, the attempt will be, an effort would be to increase it. But at this moment, I would say very similar to what we did in 2020. About 5% of PBT should be due to coming from the MSA agreement.
Okay. And the second question I had was on the this green power capex that we talk about going from 5% to 38%, if I got those numbers right. Can you talk about it a bit? What is it? It's WHR where, and what kind of capex it entails. And along with that, if you can talk, give us some sense of the guidance on the capex for this year and next year.
So, hi Gunjan, this is Rajni here. On waste heat recovery, I think the major share of the green power is waste heat recovery. We expect it to grow up from 2% to roughly around 20 or slightly higher than 20%. We are already commissioning in Darla, Bhattapara and Marwa Mundwa. That's on plan and will come up in Q1 2022. And we have in the wings Ambuja Nagar and Maratha, which will also come up. So this will take the share of waste heat recovery in the power mix to 21%. And then we have some initiatives around solar as well in some of the plants, and the solar is expected to go to higher than 15%. So together they make up about 38% in an end state. Now in terms of capex, I'll roughly say that the capex per megawatt is about 9 crores. So we can calculate the figures as we start to spend. I would not like to give you any guidance on the capex figures for 21 yet.
Okay, got it. I'll join back the queue. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Raj Kiran Gandhi from SBI Mutual Fund. Please go ahead.
Hi, thanks for the opportunity and thanks for the call. Just on, when you say you were evaluating expansion in Bhattapara and Maharashtra, so there, Bhattapara will be a greenfield line or just that you have surplus clinker and you will be putting up additional grinding units?
As I said, so this is two preliminary stage. At this moment, we are evaluating and we will look at all the kind of options available. It could be from a brownfield to a greenfield option. This is at evaluation stage. Hopefully by this, in months to come, we will be able to clarify this once we make the necessary, once we form up our program.
Okay. And before, let's say, in north itself, our grinding unit capacity which is coming up is much lower than the clinker, and we were to do some debottlenecking and all of that, and partly use surplus grinding. So anything there under consideration, before we take this?
So we have grinding capacity in the north, which we will be between both the companies and especially with Ambuja. And I think we will be able to fully utilize Marwa Mundwa clinker when it comes here.
Okay. And you mentioned mid-21 commissioning of the north expansion. Will that be grinding unit or clinker coming in first?
So it's Marwa Mundwa has both clinker capacity as well as cement capacity.
Right. So clinker also should commission by mid-21?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. And just last question from my side. We've seen as a group, at a parent entity, $2.5 billion sell-off of Philippines not going through. And, recently group has acquired 3.4 billion, has undertaken a $3.4 billion acquisition in USA. So how should we see, capital allocation for India in light of these development at a group level?
Yeah, Rajni here. So I think the India remains a key market for growth plus market for Lafarge Holcim, and we have said this earlier as well. Now in terms of group strategy and capital allocation, maybe you should join the group call end of this month. It's too close to their results, so I wouldn't want to comment on it.
Okay, sure.
Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Gaurav Rateria from Morgan Stanley. Please go ahead.
Hey, thank you for taking my question and great work on the PPT. Thanks for sharing the detailed presentation. So firstly, you mentioned industry likely to grow at 15 to 17%, and you also talked about gaining market share because of new capacity expansion. So fair to say that what we look forward to 2021 in terms of volume numbers will be better than the industry for Ambuja?
So we have to wait and watch on this. Again, I would like to sort of stay away from giving you any forward-looking statement. The effort is that once Marwa Mundwa is commissioned, we are able to use our distribution network to very sharply accelerate our volumes in the zones impacted by Marwa Mundwa project. But we have to really wait and watch on how the volumes come out, and I'm sure with every quarter we'll give you some encouraging results. But let's wait and watch for the accurate number.
Yeah. So let me ask this differently. So what is the utilization rate you look for the new plant in a matter of 6 months, 1 year? How should the ramp up happen? How should one think about the ramp up schedule?
So the ramp up, the full utilization of Mundwa is expected to be in 2022. The greatest advantage we have is the MSA with both companies, so it will help us to distribute the volumes faster. So 2022 is when we are expecting the full ramp up to happen. At the moment, the capacity utilization of Ambuja is higher than 80%, and that too in this COVID year. So we expect to be utilizing more capacity next year. Does that answer your question?
Sure. Second question on the great work on profitability in 2020, actually, despite a loss of incentives during the year. So, from a clinker factor, what will really drive the better clinker factor? Because we are already at blended cement of 90%. And secondly, within freight cost, why Ambuja has a higher clinker transportation cost on a per ton basis compared to peers? Are there any strategic initiatives to reduce it? Thank you.
So, in terms of clinker factor improvement, there is still an opportunity in the northern plants as we will absorb more fly ash. We had some issues in fly ash availability. Now like I said, we have a good sourcing now. We are switching to using a higher mix of wet fly ash. So that will help us to manage the clinker factor better for this year as we go along. The second question was in terms of clinker freight for Ambuja being higher. This is basically due to the Darlaghat belt, and as the grinding capacity settles in this region, we should be able to find a reduction in this.
Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Ashish Jain from Macquarie. Please go ahead.
Hi, good morning, everyone, and thanks for organizing this call. Sir, Rajni, my first question was on the cost comment that you made that in calendar 20, the cost per ton has gone down by roughly 200 rupees. Now, if I look at the breakup of the cost, a large part of it is actually coming from power and fuel, which I thought was partly also because the input prices itself had gone down. So, is that number right? I heard 200, and if yes, then can you just help understand what are the key items, where we have seen reduction? Because, again, my question is also because calendar 20 would have a lot of reduction in, one-time costs like advertising, travel, and some of this is expected to come back at some point of time.
Yes, so it's true there is a mix of reduction of input cost, efficiency cost, as well as cost avoidance which has happened due to COVID. Some of the cost avoidance which has happened due to COVID will come back in this year, and we have built that, and we'll also expect slightly higher expenses this year as we put more volumes out in the market, right? The new volumes that will get into the market. But we think that the 200 that I spoke about is sustainable going forward.
Okay, and does that include the reduction in power and fuel that you have seen this year, or you would say that as one of given it's more commodity linked, or at least a large part?
It does include. Now the target going forward is to negate that because we are seeing what everyone sees, which is an inflation in the power and fuel cost. And the target, as we go forward, we hope that they'll negate part of the input cost increase as well.
Understood. And, my second question is, also on, expansion and royalty. Now, I understand that you cannot give forward guidance on capacity expansion and all. But, I'm more coming from the backdrop of over the last 10 years, Holcim Lafarge have actually lost market share in India, quite meaningfully. So if I, let's say, take a 3-year, 5-year big picture view, where do we see that? Is market share something, we have a number in mind, or if you're looking to attain a certain number? And also in terms of our readiness, if independent of the timing, how much brownfield potential do we have between ACC and Ambuja based upon the limestone mines and all that we have today? If you can give some color on that.
Yeah, it's very, very forward-looking to estimate a market share for 5 years. I hope you appreciate that, Ashish. So, Neeraj has already mentioned in as much detail as he could in terms of the expansions that we are looking at brownfield and greenfield. It is true that past 10 years the investments have been on the lower side, but if you look now, in ACC we have already commissioned Sindri grinding. Amita is going on in full steam. Mundwa will come now. He talked about debottlenecking of grinding capacity, which also means that there's going to be an expansion in capacity. So I think directionally we are moving towards gaining more market share, but I would not like to give you any guidance on this. Thank you.
Okay. And and if I can just, extend that, even on the royalty front, if I see, Rajni, both you and Neeraj, as a bridge between wholesale global management and the local management, how do you see the royalty number at 2%? Because a lot of investors are, kind of talk about it, given it's only for 2 years. So is it any kind of comment on that in terms of where we see that going directionally?
It's a dynamic topic. We have just revised it for 1% for 2 years, based on an evaluation. And when it comes up for evaluation later on, we will relook at the support that is coming from the good. It's a fairly independent process of assessment of support and valuation, etc. So it's not an ad hoc number, as you would appreciate. So we will look at it again in 2 years, and for now it's there to stay at 1% for 2 years.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. Thanks, and best of luck. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks, Sis.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Swagata Ghosh from Franklin Templeton. Please go ahead.
Yeah, thanks for taking my questions. I have 2 questions. Firstly, whenever Marwar Mundwa starts operation and ramps up, considering today's price and today's variable cost, what would be the profitability or the contribution margin from that asset? Any guidance would be helpful.
No, I don't have a guidance on EBITDA per ton for Mundwa. I don't have that, but it's a capex with very high return. No, I don't have it. I don't have a guidance. Yeah, I don't have a guidance for the profitability. Yeah, but it's going to be higher than where we are today, which is all I can say. But I don't have the number for you. Sorry.
Okay, ma'am. But can we benchmark it against, say, some of the best in class, and how some of the similar comparable assets contribution?
So you're asking me to give you an indication, and I say I can't give you a number. So we'll get back to you with. Thank you for that.
Okay. And the second question is, ma'am, how many months of petcoke or imported coal inventory do we hold?
We are very strict on inventory. Yeah, it's true that last year it's caused us some impact, but we are at not more than 2 to 3 months.
So as a firm, we do not believe in buying on speculation. Or this is to our mind, this is not the right strategy to have for fuels, and therefore we maintain inventory which is in line with our required expectation of the our clinker targets and so on. Yeah, so that's how we do it. We are doing it here.
Okay, because in I guess a year or so back, when prices were coming down, we were late to realize the benefits versus peers, and the general reason assumed was that the higher inventory we had. So I was curious.
That was in 2018. It's been 3 years since. That was in 2018 when we landed up with higher inventory in one of the plants, and it was due to some shipment sizing. But as a company, the strategy is to procure what we need.
Okay, great. Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Girish Chaudhary from Spark Capital. Please go ahead.
Good morning, and thanks for taking my question. Firstly, on the Marwar Mundwa, just a follow-up to the earlier participant, that there is a mismatch in terms of the clinker and grinding for the new capacity, 3 million ton clinker and 1.8 million ton grinding. So if you can sort of give a sense on what is the current clinker capacity in that region in north for Ambuja, both clinker and grinding, and also for ACC, so that will be really helpful.
So like we said, combined with ACC, we will be able to evacuate the clinker that is at Marwar Mundwa. We have some underutilized capacities in the region, and we will be able to make the right movements to utilize these underutilized capacities of grinding. Now, between ACC and Ambuja, there is still some grinding capacity in the north that we can use, either our own or through our partners.
Okay. Any number will be really useful.
I can't give it to you now. I don't have it now, but I'll probably call you again for it. Yeah.
Sure. And second question is on the premium product sales. You mentioned that in the earlier opening remarks that you had a 16% growth. If you can share how much is this as a percentage of total volumes? And then specifically on Kavach, you also interestingly mentioned that you launched at a fixed price. So if you can share some more on this in terms of how much is the price and premium to base case products, and then the outlook on this product going ahead.
So on premium, we are reaching close to 12% now of total of the trade sales that we do. And our efforts are on to I would rather not use the word premium. I would use the word special cement, because they are Ambuja and ACC both. We have products which have a very sharp value proposition. For example, Kavach is a water repellent cement. We are also working with the group R&D now to come up with more such special products which have a very sharp value proposition for our consumers in the market. 12% is what we have recorded last quarter in December, and we would like to further strengthen it in the coming months. Efforts are on to improve our special cement sales.
Okay. On the fixed price on Kavach, any number you can share in terms of what is the pricing?
Kavach is a very expensive product with its with its special properties around water repellent, and where we also work with some of the world's largest chemical manufacturers. Yeah. So it's an expensive product. So we believe that a product like Kavach requires a statement to the consumer so that on the price, so that they can plan themselves well for the construction period, which typically for an IHB will be in let's say 12 months to 16 months, going up to 24 months for full construction. So currently the fixed price per model of Kavach gives us roughly about 50 plus rupees 50 plus over the base products, per bag improved prices, and that, as we said, that it is a fixed price for the full year.
Okay. So I have one more question, if I may. On the coal block at Gare Palma, you mentioned that this will help substitute high cost fuel. So if you can throw some light on this in terms of how much of the requirement can be taken care of from the related cost savings, and also when will this ramp up?
Can you induce 1 minute? 1 minute.
Just give us a 1 minute and let's move to the next question while I get the answer for this one.
So Gare Palma, as its stable rate, will be doing about 1 million tons of coal. And that should be, with that 1 million ton, we should be able to substitute it with the more expensive procured coal, as well as pet coke. This much information we can give now. But of course, the efforts will be to what else we can do in Gare Palma to further reduce our dependence on procured coal for certain plants.
It will also help the plants also.
Yeah.
So your question is answered.
Yeah, thanks and all the very best.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Rakesh Vyas from HDFC Mutual Fund. Please go ahead.
Yeah, hi team. Good morning. And first of all, let me compliment the management for distributing the surplus cash on balance sheet through interim dividend. Sir, 3 quick questions, if I may. One, I think everyone has been trying to understand with the 3 million ton clinker that is coming up at Marwar Mundra, potential to produce close to 5 million ton of volumes. And Rajani talked about achieving the optimal utilization in CY22. So broadly, we should be in a position to see more than 4 million ton kind of numbers through our various grinding capacities in that time frame. Is that a correct understanding? Because that's something that everyone is trying to understand.
Yes, you're right. You're right, Mr. S.
Sure. Sir, related question to Marwar Mundra is, has there been any incentive structure that has been finalized with the state government? Can you throw some light? Because now we don't have any incremental incentives across our portfolio broadly.
We are working on it, so not yet locked in, but we are working with the Rajasthan government for the incentive.
Second question is also around volumes. I mean, we did fairly good job of 7 million ton kind of volume run rate in this quarter. Essentially, with the kind of volume or demand traction that we are expecting in CY21, is this a run rate that is fairly sustainable given all our constraints, etc., broadly factored in, and with the kind of new capacity that is coming up, CY21 should see at least this or a higher run rate on an average basis? Is that a correct understanding?
Volume run rate.
No, I mean, once Marwa Mundwa comes in, Mr. Vyas, the volume run rate will increase. Yeah. And has to increase, yeah. But as Rajani said in the previous question that Marwa Mundwa, to my mind, will fully stabilize sometimes early 2022. So then we should really be able to see the complete or full potentials of Marwa Mundwa in the market, yeah. But I am very certain that with Marwa Mundwa, even in 2021, we should be able to positively impact our volume gains.
Fair enough. And one last question around solar. Can you just throw some light on the strategy around our solar expansion broadly? Is it going to be on group captive or buy purchase kind of agreement, or are we likely to put up capex on our own? Any thought around that will be very helpful.
It depends state by state in terms of what is available. We are open to all models. The on-site capex model with the third party seems to be the most favored one, but it depends on a case-to-case basis. So we are open to all.
And any timeline that you can highlight, Rajani, this 15% kind of contribution from solar you are expecting by CY22 end?
Yeah, also looking towards 22 end, yeah.
Great. Thank you so much and best of luck. Thank you.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, please limit your questions to one per participant. Should you have a follow-up question, would request you to rejoin the queue. The next question is from the line of Abhinav from Nippon India Mutual Fund. Please go ahead.
Yeah, thanks for the opportunity. Just a couple of questions from the, understanding the perspective from the industry side. So one is obviously from a demand perspective, everyone has been surprised with the way that the revival has happened. Even, adjusting for that base of Q1 in next year, the demand expectation is fairly strong. So just trying to understand, apart from the rural and the infra piece, which we understand and it's there in the public domain in terms of government expenditure, are there any other bigger triggers on urban housing or the industrial capex revival which you are seeing to be bullish on the demand for next year or couple of years? And a related question is basically the average borrowing cost for larger corporates is down to 4 to 5%. For mid-sized corporates is 7-8%, which has resulted in a slew of announcements on the supply side in the next 2-3 years. Just trying to understand, in your view, the utilization of from a cement and clinker perspective for the industry that you're seeing. That's it from my side. Thanks.
So I'm trying to understand your first question. Is on the demand of 2021. We have these three important segments in the cement consumption space. One which is we called housing, which includes the individual house builders. Second is infrastructure, and third is industrial and commercial segment. Yeah, so for last few years, we were more doing much better in housing and infrastructure. Last year, in infrastructure, there was a slowdown, but housing, especially IHB in rural area, did quite well. Where we are seeing a revival now in 2021 is on the industrial and commercial, where we are seeing some more industrial capex being planned, and already some of them are the construction companies are asking for quotations and so on. So we are seeing that part of the segment now opening up. So I would say in 2021, all the three segments, housing, infrastructure, industrial and commercial, will see improve the demand trend. Yeah, this is what my take would be, and that is why, in my opinion, compared to 2019, we should grow at least 5 to 7% in 2021. Compared to last year, 2020, but that is special, you should see a growth of plus in at least in double digits in 2021.
Sure, sir. On the second question on the upcoming supply and the number of announcements which have happened from the corporate side. So in that light, how is the utilization perceived to be, at least for next couple of years?
Grows at this rate, then I think the utilization levels will also remain high in this industry for the coming few years. This will be my take. Yeah, I mean, except for some regions, and I don't want to go into those details. Largely in the country, we will see higher utilization levels.
Sure. Thanks. You.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Sumedha Srinivasan from ICICI Prudential Asset Management Company. Please go ahead.
Hi, thanks for taking my question. So I had two questions. One was on the premium segment. You said that it's about 12% of trade sales. Could you give us some guidance on how this has moved over the quarters, or how this was, how much is the premium in the same quarter last year versus now, and also the trade non-trade mix?
It has moved from 8% to 10 to 12 in the last quarter.
So previous quarter it was 10%, is it, in Q3?
I will have to get, but I know in quarter one it was 8%, and then it is 12% as we exited the year. I don't have the interim quarters now. We can get back to you on, but it's been consistently going. It's been pretty resilient during COVID period as well. You know, it was one segment which held its sales during the COVID period as well.
Right. And what is the current trade non-trade mix?
Current trade, non-trade.
It normally goes around 80 to 20, with 80% on trade and 20% on B2B. That's how we do it, yeah.
Right. And just one last question from my end. Could you give us a guidance on what is the capacity of WHRS and in terms of megawatt and solar that would be coming up?
So I can give you WHRS now. We have 6.5 megawatt now. The capex that is approved and ongoing is about 53.4 megawatt. And then we have another 30 coming up for the other two plants.
Sorry, so this 30 is exclusive of, outside of the 53, is it?
Yes, absolutely.
And how much is the current CPP capacity, and is there any new CPP capacity that's coming up?
CPP capacity, just a moment. 290. How much is the CPP in the power mix? 290. 65. Yeah, CPP is 291. CPP is 276, and there is nothing at the moment that is in the pipeline for new CPP. But we are looking at, but we have not finalized it.
Okay. And what is the current clinker availability with us in terms of tons?
18 million tons. 18 million metric tons.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Madhav Marda from FIL. Please go ahead.
Hi, good morning. Thank you so much for your time. My question was on the cost side. You mentioned that we've achieved 200 rupees per ton saving this year. So is that on a 100 basis for quarter 4 of CY20, or is it something that we're expecting for CY21? I wasn't very clear.
Run rate for 2020.
Okay, so you're saying on a full year basis, we've saved from efficiency 200 rupees per ton in CY20, right?
Yes, but take it, I see a lot of interest in this one. Take it with a pinch of salt, because we do also have the COVID related cost savings. though we strongly believe that these will continue on to 2021. We have done a lot of work on the efficiency platforms under the ICANN program.
Okay.
So you can consider 2020 for 2020, 200.
Sorry to interrupt, Mr. Marda. So this is the operator. There is a slight disturbance coming from your line, sir.
Yeah, is it better now?
It's an airy disturbance.
Yeah, is it clear now?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Okay. I understand. And maybe my second question was, I think on the expansion, a slightly different question that I had was, whenever you announce a greenfield or brownfield expansion, what would be the timeline to sort of commission it from the date that it is announced?
So there are two parts of this. One part is the time taken to overcome the regulatory issues, for example, environment clearance. And then the second part is the technical, how much time you take. Technically, greenfield plant, once the land is secured, should not take more than 15 to 16 months. There are, of course, examples of people who have done it better. There are examples of people who have taken longer time. But once all other factors remaining constant, greenfield plant should not take more than 15 to 16 months time.
And similarly for the brownfield would be like 12 months or something like that?
Something like that, 12 months to 13 months, yeah.
Okay. And do we have like for a greenfield expansion, if we decide to take that up as the next round of expansion, do we already have land secured at any particular site, or that's like
it's too early to answer this. We are currently evaluating it, of the nature of expansion, size of expansion, and so on. Yeah. So once we are there, then we will of course be coming back to our investors and we'll be announcing it. Yeah.
Okay, got it. Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you.
That's the last question.
Ladies and gentlemen, this was the last question for today. I would now like to hand the conference over to Mr. Kripal Manial from ICICI Securities for closing comments.
Thank you, Malika. On behalf of ICICI Securities, we would like to thank the management of Ambuja Limited for providing us this opportunity to host the call, and thanks all the participants for joining the call. Thank you very much, Malika, and you may now conclude the call.
Thank you, sir. On behalf of ICICI Securities Limited, that concludes this conference. Thank you for joining us, and you may now disconnect your lines.